benefit as at when due. It was, as a whole, it was a scheme that was not working for everyone, including the government. And government felt that for retirees going forward, for people who have worked very hard during their active years, that it would be important for them to maintain a decent standard of living and that they have access to their benefits as at when due, when they are retired. That was why that pension contributory scheme came into place. So it's a pension on the go system whereby you contribute a portion of your income while in employment, while your employer also contributes a portion of your income.
A mandatory,
yes, mandatory
contributions. Yeah. Rafa, do you want to take it from there?
All right. So what we're trying to do today, right, is to relate this to wealth building. As the program speaks. So, in terms of wealth accumulation, right, a few weeks ago, we had discussed the financial life cycle, where we talked about wealth accumulation, wealth consolidation, wealth distribution. In terms of wealth accumulation, does the scheme permit people to switch, between the multi-fund structure? And I think I'll also like you to speak to the multi-fund structure.
Please pause. Multi-fund structure. It doesn't mean anything to me.
Yes.
I mean, I'm the lay person here.
No, we'll break it down.
Okay.
He will break that down first,
I'll break it down.
and then we can then look at, is it possible for people to switch?
Yes, the multi-fund structure came into place in 2018 to be specific. And what PENCOM was trying to do was that at some point, when the scheme started, let me also say that the scheme has evolved over the years. And like I always say, without being patronizing, I believe that we have a regulator or an industry as a whole that is very proactive in terms of taking feedback from operators, taking feedback from the people, and thereby taking those feedback in and working on them to amend the laws as applicable. So the scheme, the multi-fund structure came into place to be able to capture the peculiarities of each contributor. So you had a system in place that when we first started, what we started with was RSA. And Raphael will remember. So it was just RSA. Everybody was in the RSA fund. And later on, we felt that it was important to have a retiree fund because some of those contributors were retiring.
Yeah.
And they also noticed that the risk or preferences of those people differ because of their age, or those people because of their asset allocation, and there were some variable instrument, the exposure to variable instruments are instruments that fluctuate in value, and they felt that those percentages did not work well for people that are retired. It meant that their income levels could fluctuate at a particular point in time. And PENCOM felt that it was important to separate the retiree fund for them. So at some point we had two funds. We started with one, later we had two funds, and later PENCOM also felt that some people felt that the funds were not growing as fast as they wanted to. So you had younger people who felt that the exposure to variable instruments, like I mentioned, like maybe equities, could be more. They can take more risk. I mean, people that will probably be in an equity fund in a mutual fund setting.
Yes.
And PENCOM said, okay, let's have a fund that will cater for that. And so they created other funds that accommodated that. We started with the added fund one, which up till now has more exposure to variable instruments. So we also had for fund
variable
fund three, yes.
These are all these
Stocks.
Stocks, equities, instruments that fluctuate, that are volatile. Yes. But with the advent of IFRS applications investment funds, most other instruments that we used to think were fixed instruments. You understand? Because of classification, even your typical federal government bonds that you would think cannot fluctuate in price can actually fluctuate in price depending on how you carry it. Because if those assets are classified as fair value, if you say that you can sell anytime, what the law says or what the accounting guidelines says is that you need to capture those assets at the market prices. So it also means that if you have exposure to bonds, those bonds do change in prices.
Yes.
You understand? So, but the multi-fund structure was created in order to capture the peculiarities of contributors, and for people who are interested in taking more risk. So the major distinction is in the risk appetite and allocation to variable instruments. So what Pencom did was to give contributors a choice to move within a certain prescribed rule. So it's not as if you can move. I won't say it's completely freed, because, for instance, you can't move from fund 4. If you're a retiree, you can't say you want to be in fund 1 that has the highest exposure to equities. Pencom is not going to allow that, because it's going to affect your retirement balance negatively. It can be positively at some point, but there will be times where your balances are going down, and retirees will always.
In other words, age.
Yes, age is also a factor. Yes, age is a factor.
All right.
Okay. So contributors can't just
Yes, they
switch.
can. Yes.
Okay. So riding on the back of what you have said earlier in terms of the revised act, right? I think it's been done twice now,
Yes.
like every 10 years, right? Now, looking at retirees, can they also switch strategies? So in terms of withdrawal strategies, I know there's a program withdrawal, there's annuity, there's program withdrawal for maybe a month or quarterly.
You can elect to do a monthly,
Or you can
quarterly.
and then there's annuities as well. Can they also switch?
So yes, in a way. So for people that are on program withdrawal, they can change their mind. Even if if you've been on program withdrawal for 10 years or even 15 years, you can change your mind and say, I don't want again, I want to go the annuity way. But for people that have gone the annuity way, they can't come back. The funds they have to stay with the insurance company that they've transferred their annuity payment to. Yes. So they can't move back.
Okay. And is there any form of, so from the revision as well, is there any form of independence that has been given to the PFAs now? Because I know that at the beginning they have to get approval from Pencom before they take action, especially in terms of paying
benefit
benefits.
payment. Yes, Pencom has graciously granted us autonomy in terms of benefit payment. So what that has done is that it's going to improve efficiency. It's going to improve efficiency of benefit payments significantly. As a matter of fact, the timeline we have as an industry now is 2 days. Pencom expects that you are supposed to complete payments of benefits to retirees or any kind of contributor or any kind of withdrawal within 2 days. So it's going to drive efficiency. The systems are in place.
Within 2 days?
Yes.
Of the person.
That's what Pencom wants us to do. Yes.
Or receiving the notification.
Yeah, so if you fill out if you submit all your documents, all the things that you are meant to submit. So if your application is complete, we are required to pay within 2 days.
I can tell you that's certainly not happening.
Is it?
Well, the industry is gradually getting used to it. You understand, and some of the challenges may also be from the client in some situations. So the client comes, has not submitted everything that is required. Do you understand? Despite the fact that we have autonomy to PFAs have autonomy to make payments, you still have to ensure that all the things that Pencom says you should collect are collected. Do you understand? Those things have to be in place. But if they are in place, I mentioned something the other time that is going to drive efficiency within the industry. Every PFA is investing in technology that can help them.
Let me ask you a question.
Let
me ask this question. Okay, I'm here. Going to pick my words carefully. Now, let's take the national insurance scheme in the UK. Okay, now it's national insurance. You have a number, and your contributions go straight via that number, so one can easily say how many national insurance contributions they've made. Funds are taken from there in some cases to fund the National Health Service and so on and so on. Now, if you retire, just by your age, because they know how old you are, they have all of that, the thing happens pretty much automatically. You're not being asked to run from pillar to post and they'll go and bring this and then go and get that and then go get the other. Surely, it can be properly streamlined. We know now we've got BVN, for instance, we've got NIN. Do you understand? I don't know, but I know someone recently, right? And it took it took nearly 3 weeks. And this person made this application out of desperation. Actually, they've been out of work now for a little over 2 years, are of the age, have contributions running for about 25 years or something, over 25 years, and most of that time worked in a bank, so it's pretty straightforward. There's nothing, the person's date of birth, so when they have reached retirement age, for a fact this person isn't working anymore, and so on and so on and so on. You can even tell from the tax contributions and all of that. Can't this all be harmonized so that the thing just happens? Because we're dealing with what essentially is a parastatal kind of, isn't it, in PENCOM? But it's more private sector than it is essentially a civil service thing. So, I just don't get it. I think it can be smoother.
So
I'm speaking,
are we there yet?
Let's say I'm speaking for the masses. We are not there yet.
I would say that it is improving. And I would also say that, while not knowing the specifics of
the individual I
spoke about, I know that sometimes
it didn't occur to me to tell them to call you.
No, it's also most PFAs want to, because that is the reason why they exist in the first instance, to ensure that retirees, I mentioned the objective the other time, to ensure that retirees are paid as at when due. So every PFA is committed to doing that. But there might be challenges, like I mentioned to you. Some of those challenges might be because that person has not been able to collect or present one critical document.
But that's my point. That is precisely what critical document could it possibly be?
Chigo, things are getting better. I can tell you as an industry, things are getting better. But there was a time that a lot of people did not even have accurate records. People didn't have accurate records. And in some cases, people have multiple ages. Do you understand? But the data recapture exercise, which PENCOM started a while back, one of the things it will do is that it's helping to clean up the data, every data that you need to have on the system, if those things have been done before you want to access benefit. So what happens sometimes is that people want to access benefits. It's at the point when you want to access benefits that you update their records. But if you had updated your records, some of those things that you get asked at retirement, you will not get asked because those things would have been sorted out. So sometimes, it's something, I agree with you that things can get better, and I can assure you that things are improving. And it's just a matter of time before those things will really become very seamless. But as an industry, I can tell you I'm pro-industry. I'm always doing that.
No, I say it because I just feel like it's a bit of a Nigerian thing, where people are made to jump through hoops, even for things that they are entitled to, a passport, for instance, a driver's license, for instance, and it's something that is really straightforward.
In defense of the industry, I can tell you that nobody has pleasure in keeping the money. Nobody has pleasure in keeping the money.
Because if I'm a layperson, I'm a layperson. And I'm 60. Yes. So, but luckily, I have a voice, so I know for a fact that if I was not working there and I decided to access it, because this thing has happened in places. I got a passport at a time when they said there was no booklet. Well, you don't have booklet, and but because of the radio, suddenly a drawer opened and there was booklets.
They kept it for you. For people like you.
But I just say it to say, as a layperson, what's the crucial information? You need to know that, the person, you need to know that this person is really of age, qualifies to get this thing.
Yeah.
That information should be sorted at inception in my head.
Yes, for people that
anyway.
Yes.
Secondly, you need to know that this person is not in gainful employment. They are retired. Now, other than that, this is me. I've identified myself. I have my number. what else could there possibly be? I mean, I don't know. Maybe in a future show you run through the criteria for it. I'm on this path because this is something I have experienced with someone close to me very, very recently, as early this month. So no, late last month, early this month. And so I say it to say that I agree with you. That it can. There's room for improvement.
Yes.
And the things that delay it, I don't think are things that should delay that thing. I don't think so. In my opinion, anyway. But anyway, there you have it. Let's talk.
Another question.
Yeah, let's say that if you have any questions at all about pensions, let me just remind you that our topic today is contributory pension scheme as a core wealth building tool, and we've been asking questions today. We're talking to Ireti Ishola, sorry, and we've been discussing it so far. I've got another question. If you've got any questions about pensions that you'd like to ask, send them to us via WhatsApp on 0704 1001 973. The number again, 0704 1001 973. But Ireti, let's ask you, I want to talk about the use of 25% of pension balance as equity contribution for residential mortgages. Housing is at a premium currently. Everybody, I mean, if you don't own your own house in today's Nigeria, you're eating. So, does that work using your 25%, say, as a mortgage thing?
Yes,
presumably this is linked to the MRIF scheme.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is. It is linked to the MRIF scheme. You can get MRIF support to supplement whatever you've gotten from 25% RSA. So one of the benefits of, we're talking about delayed payments, and you said that maybe some of these things should have been sorted out ab initio.
Yes.
One of the things that has happened over the years is that before things like maybe 25% RSA, a lot of people did not take pension seriously. Nobody was interested in it until they were about to retire. So you start taking your statement seriously, maybe you're in mid-40s or you're 50. Or like you're already 60 something.
Isn't that what it's meant to?
But now, because of RSA mortgage,
you
understand, you don't necessarily you can access RSA mortgage at 30, at any age.
Oh, really?
Yes, you can.
Regardless
But there are
of how much
rules.
you have.
There are rules. I'll mention those rules. One of the rules
tell
is
us the
that
rules.
you have to have made contributions for at least 5 years, 60 months. The rule says 60 months.
Yes.
So another thing is that you have to be in active employment. You have to be employed, because don't forget that it is equity for mortgage. So you are getting a mortgage loan from a financial institution, from a mortgage institution. And so when you are getting it, you are using that fund. That fund is not for you to go and do something at all. It's for you to buy, to use it to buy a home.
Yeah.
And it's usually the law says it is for first home buyers. So you can't use it to buy today and tomorrow you come and say, I want to collect another 25. So it is for home ownership. And what the law says,
essentially buy to live.
Yes, buy to live in. So you come around, you access a portion of your contribution, 25% to be specific. You must not be a retiree, like I said. You must be in active employment. You must have more than 3 years in employment. So so if your retirement age is maybe 60, you can come and access it at 57. If it's 57, it's fine, but you must have more than 3 years to retirement. That's the idea, such that you are able to pay. We don't want a retiree to be paying for mortgages. It will be very difficult, because it will defeat that purpose in itself.
So this rules cheaper out.
Except you can prove that your retirement age is maybe more than 65.
But hang on. So I'm a radio presenter and an actor, right? I could, but I could do this for another 30 years, easily. Now, But that's not taken into account, is it?
So one of the beautiful things about innovations within the pension industry is the personal pension plan. That personal pension plan, which used to be called the micro pension plan,
Yeah.
those people who can participate have been
But
expanded.
to be honest, now that I think about it, who wants to get 25% or whatever when they're 90? I mean, that just
Do you understand? Because you don't want to
It
be
doesn't
paying
track.
when you
No,
are
no,
not
no.
in active service. But if you are in active service, if you can prove that you are still in active service, then it makes a lot of sense. The idea is the pension fund or your RSA balance is for retirement. The idea is we want contributors to maintain a reasonable standard of living at
After
retirement.
they've
That's
stopped
so it's not to buy a house at maybe 60 and you're not able to pay, you're under mortgage pressure and all of that. So take care of your financial needs first.
Let's take this quickly. So it's good afternoon in this 60 as well. It's more cheaper. And he goes on to say, thanks for this opportunity. I'd like to ask the guest this question. How does the reviewed act handle a situation where a contributor has, for example, 40 million in pension contribution and is seriously ill and would require about 10 to 15 million for treatment and doesn't have any other means of financing the treatment? From what I see, the contributor may die and people who didn't labor for the money will end up inheriting his labor while he passes on. And this is from Sean in Surulere. It's actually a decent question.
Yes,
so that talks about legacy.
Yes, it's a decent question. So there are also rules around it. What I would suggest to the person is that if someone is in that kind of situation, the person should approach his or her PFA to speak to them about it. There is a guideline, there is a rule that allows for such situations, but it's not something that happens all the time.
Yes.
So if you can accept the same way, there's a rule that says if you lose your job, you're able to get 25% of your contribution. So there are also exceptional
After waiting certain
situations.
months.
Yes, there are also exceptional
How
situations.
many months?
For loss of job? Loss of job is 4 months. You have to prove to us that you can resign, you don't necessarily have to lose the job. Maybe
Let's
you're
use
tired
cheaper
of
as an
it.
example.
So you're tired of your job, 4 months. If you can prove to us that you resigned in 4 months, you understand?
Yes.
And it's fine. But sometimes it's back to why some people don't get their benefit. So you just got tired, you didn't resign, or you didn't submit a letter of resignation. You now come to us and say, you go to your PFA and say, I'm no longer working. Where is the evidence that you're no longer working? You don't have anything. So sometimes that is what happens. Contributors do sometimes make things difficult for PFAs because they don't have supporting documents. Because there has to be a basis.
But does PENCOM investigate these things? Because somebody could write a letter and send it to you guys.
The documentation has to be clean. At least we have to, it's a fiduciary responsibility. We have to ensure that we do all our checks to ensure that what we have been given is genuine to a reasonable extent. So if anybody checks what we've done, they will say, well, they have checked. In the industry, operators have seen situations whereby people
Again,
will say
affect his
that
death.
people
I heard about a guy that affected his death.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you understand? So a lot of
But he was alive and working.
it was contributions are tax exempt. The taxes you pay is after that has been deducted from your contributions. So it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you are going to, especially for people on a higher tax band, it's going to save you a lot.
This is interesting.
A lot
So,
of things.
and I'm using myself because I'm 60.
And it's legit. It's not tax evasion. It's
Yes.
So when I go and take this 25%, the tax man isn't coming and saying, Chico, you got this. money."
So no. The tax you will pay. Okay. So you're talking about another thing, but yes, nobody's coming after you. Whatever you are getting. So for your pensions,
Yes.
if it's pensions, you are not even paying any tax on it. Nobody's going to come after you for collecting.
Okay.
Nobody's paying. But for voluntary contribution, if you collect it, the tax on subject to certain rules, there are some people that pay taxes on income. You know that when you are making that contribution, you are not being taxed on that contribution. So there's a rule that you have to stay for a certain number of years
Yes.
before those contributions can be tax exempt. Before those income on those contributions, not the contribution, can be tax exempt. So if you did not stay the period, what will happen is that the income that you have earned on that your contribution will be taxed, but not the contribution. So it still makes sense. It's a win-win situation. And I mean, for people who know it, I mean, some people cannot do without the voluntary contribution because it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and boosts what you have to look forward to at retirement. Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for, and I think that in future shows, come Monday, please get your questions in early. We're at the end of the show and questions coming in now. So next week we'll be here 5:30. So just join in. Once you've heard the topic, if you have questions concerning that, please send your questions in early. That way our guest or analyst on the show can address them. But we have run out of time. So if you sent a question in today, unfortunately we're not able to address it in today's show. Rafa?
Ireti, I think you'll be happy to join us once again because we've got loads of questions and we need to attend to those questions. So if you missed the show today, please you can watch on our YouTube channel, Wealth Management and you can watch previous episodes as well. Join us again next week at 5:30. Chico?
Thank you very much. This is the Drive Time Show.